Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Koppen. Welcome to our 251st installment in the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Vayakhel, almost at the end of the book of Exodus. Parshas Vayakhel talks about Shabbos, contributions for the Mishkan, construction of the tabernacle, craftsmen that are selected, inspiration from the heart, the mandates, the curtains, the cover, the planks, the table, the ark, all these interesting things that were made in the tabernacle, in the Mishkan. So Torah tells me, chapter 35, verse 34, it says that he gave them the ability to teach him an Oliav, son of Achisamach, of the tribe of Dan. What's it telling me over here? What's it telling me over here? That further, even in verse 35, it says he filled them with a wise heart to every craft of the carver, weaver, designs, and embroiderer, turquoise, purple, scarlet wool, linen, the weaver, the artisans, every craft, marker of designs. So, there are times, says, Moiver Rebbe, Arav Agon, Ramosh Shlita should be well. And it brings down in Chochmah Vadas, brings down his commentary on Chumash, and he says like this: there are times that a person works because he has to. Right? You have no choice. You got to put bread on the table. You got to make parnasa. Right? So that's what you got to do. And what does he do? He works those hours. He may even work very hard. But that's it. He works those hours. In other words, whatever the hours are, that's what he does. But why does he do it? He's doing it because he needs to make money. He needs to put food on the table. Right? Really? What would he want to do? He'd probably rather do something else. Instead of doing what he's doing, he'd probably rather be doing something else. If possible. Right, but here, what are we talking about? Talking about someone who teaches. Alright, someone who teaches others. Right, someone who teaches kids. So sometimes, should have made that clear. So, somebody like that, why is he doing his job? He's doing his job because that's what he does. Those are the hours. But the reality is, probably wishes he was somewhere else. In other words, he's not into his craft. Not into his craft. But there are teachers that enjoy it. That enjoy what they do. They have tremendous enjoyment in uplifting their students. And making their students love Torah. And they care about them. Just like they're their own kids. This is somebody who you should seek to teach your kids. Now, we're not in control, right, necessarily, who the teachers are in general. Some that are better, some not. But somebody who loves what they do. They love what they do. They work hard at what they do. They treat their kids like themselves. They treat their kids like their own kids. And that's why it says over here by Betzalel. It says he's going to place in their hearts. He's going to teach them in their hearts. And that is that God's going to give them in their hearts to want to give over to others. To want to raise and teach students. He's going to put in their hearts. Why? Because that's what their heart wants. That's what their heart desires. So God's going to help them. God's going to put that desire in them. And then they're going to work with all their hearts in order to teach properly and have proper students, and they'll be successful. So what does the Torah tell me here? It says, what does the Torah say? It says, "Lahol rois, nasan baliboy." Going to teach and give in their hearts. So that's one of the, that's one of the benefits over here of what this person becomes. In order that he's going to teach that for generations. And the students will be more successful with such a teacher. Now, it's an interesting idea. You can have people, as the Rebbe here said before, you can have people really into teaching, really wanting to teach. Why? They want to have students. They care about them. They treat them like their own sons because they want to see them be successful. Right? They'll ask about them, how they're doing, speak to the parents if there are any issues. Someone who really cares. Someone who's very warm. Praising them for good things that they do, giving them self-esteem. That's what we want for our kids. We want our kids to be built up. Not to have an ego, think they're God's gift to the world. We want them built up. We want them thinking, Torah's great, Torah's fun. That's what we want for our kids. Somebody like that's going to be sought after teacher. And hopefully they don't burn out. It's a hard thing day in and day out. You teach the same things over and over, which most likely the schools make them teach different things so they're fresher. It's very hard to teach the same things over and over again. But see, somebody who's doing the job because they're making a living, because they're getting paid, they're into it for the money. Or let's say better, most people are in teaching not in it for the money. They're idealistic. But someone could be not into it. They can be very much not into it. And that's going to come at the expense, not only of themselves, because then they're for sure burnout. It comes at the expense of their students. Because the whole point is you have to build them up. You have to get them to love Torah. You have to get them excited about Torah. Yeah, you can tell me the big classes, kids act up. It's hard to control. There are a lot of issues. And no question, it's not an easy profession. No question. But somebody has to be in it for the right reason. Because if they're in it just to get a paycheck, they check in, they check out, they do what they're supposed to do, they move on. What's the child going to get? What's the child going to get? Child is going to feel neglected. Child's not going to feel loved. Children are not foolish. Children see right through their parents. For better or for worse. And parents have to be extremely careful. Extremely careful. Because who are the kids supposed to look up to the most? Parents. So we got to be careful. We can have good days, we can have bad days. But we have to be proper role models for our kids. Parent can't check in and check out. Parent has to be on all the time. And sometimes you're tired, you're this, you're that. Sometimes you just want a break, you don't want to deal with them. Also true. Happens. Right? A parent needs their own space for a certain amount. But here we're talking about when you send a kid to school. Because even though the majority of education comes at home. That's where it comes from. They're in school most of the day. Right? If they're in school, most of the day they're being taught. True. Very, very true. So, a bad teacher can ruin a child. Can destroy a child. So the parents also have to build up children. They have to build up children. And even if, they act out or they do things, they have to be punished. We have to do it with love. Person should never ever punish out of anger. And that's a hard thing. We're tired. We get angry. They deserve it. Whatever. A lot of things. But the reality is, if a person has to punish, the punishment has to fit the crime. If the punishment doesn't fit the crime, the kid won't understand. We have to be careful. Today, some parents are afraid to punish at all. Reason being, they're afraid their kids will go off. You have to have a balance. You have to give them the value. You have to teach them. They have to see what these values are. At the same time, a teacher educating children is just as important as a parent educating a child. That's the way they have to view it. That each student is like a child to them. So obviously they have to be careful how they treat them. And today, not an easy generation to work with. For many reasons. Not the topic for now. But the power of someone who can influence, i.e. a teacher, a parent, can have a lot of good influence, God forbid a lot of bad influence. So we all have to be careful. If we teach, we have to be careful. If we're parents, we have to be careful. A lot of things we're going to have to work on. One of them is definitely going to be patience. We have to discipline children to a certain extent. They can't just speak up and whatever when two people are talking. They have to be put at bay. Until like a sentence is finished or whatever. Respectfully. But a person taking a job to teach in general, most people not in it for the money. That's for sure. They'll get paid that much. But they have to be in it because they're idealistic. Because they want to give to others. They want to help. They want to build. They want to build people, not destroy them. Very easy to destroy somebody. Very easy. Because we're living in a cream puff generation. Marshmallow generation. Any little thing, could deter somebody. So we got to be careful. 100% we have to be careful. We have to know how to rebuke. We have to know how to give over. But the most important thing is someone who teaches. Obviously, they have to be in it for the right reason. But what do they have to give? What's the most important thing they have to give over? The most important thing they have to give over, people may be surprised at this, is they have to love Torah. They have to give over love of Torah. It's not about just do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts not enough. They have to understand why, but it has to be done through love. They have to show the goodness of Torah. Not just what's forbidden. And how are you going to fry in hell forever if you don't do X, Y, and Z? Who wants to hear that? Nobody. Okay. You tell them severity what they do. But at the same time, you want to build them to love Torah. Love is everything here. Because plenty of schools, as they get older, as kids get older, it's all about rules. It's all about skirt lengths. It's all about doom and gloom. And not really understanding why. Which is a problem everywhere. Everywhere it's a problem. All kids here is, it's about skirt length, about elbow length, and it's about don't do this, don't do that. So where do they get love of Torah? Especially girls, where do they get love of Torah? So hopefully after they graduate high school and survive, they go to seminary. Seminary inspires them for a year, for 2 years. And they get all fired up, all inspired. Which, that's a good thing. That's a tremendously good thing. That's what they need. Now, boys also need to be inspired. Because by guys, it's all about learning. All right, there's Mussar, there's ethics, other things, but it's all about, Talmud. Guy can also get burnt out. Yeah, maybe my Hasidic side coming out. Got to sing and dance a little bit more. I'm not saying you got to chill. You got to know how to enjoy. Now, a person's really into learning, he'll get it. If he's not, he struggles, different issue. So you have to know how to deal with everybody. As we said, we're living in very difficult times. In many ways. And the power of the street is so unbelievably strong. Teachers, women teachers, men teachers, anybody out there got the ability to give over to others. Got to give over the love of Torah. Yeah, it's about obligation. It's about, it's about controlling my thoughts. It's about many things. Many things that are very heavy. But a person, even if they're going to keep it, they have to love what they do. To exemplify what they do. We say every day, even though it's Hashem b'simcha, serve God with great joy. You got to say it, you got to believe it. You got to live it. Not so easy today. But someone who's got the power to influence, they have a greater responsibility. And if they're just going through the motions, kids see it also. They got to give over. They got to exude love. They got to give it over. See how great it is to learn Torah. Great it is to be a Frumer Yid. To keep Torah mitzvahs. Huge. It's got to be given over at a younger age and at an older age also. You have to know how to take responsibility. You have to know the severity of our actions. But you also have to show them how to have fun. Kosher fun. How to enjoy. Even within learning. Because even though learning's hard, it makes us weaker. Right? It can make us more tired, weakens our body. But if you're really into it, a person's got a question and they can't get it answered, can't fall asleep. How can I fall asleep? Such a question. How can I fall asleep? Because you say your body's tired. You're right. The body's tired. But see, the mind, how we train the mind, and how we work on that, takes effort. Takes great effort. But it can be done. And if a person only has a certain amount of time to learn what you enjoy. Because that'll continue to get you to learn more. But you got to love what you do. You got to exemplify what you do. Under any circumstance. You know, that's kind of hard to do. Didn't say it was easy. A person, has a question. Thinking about it. It really bothers them they don't have an answer. You dig and you dig and you dig. And let's say you find at least a partial answer. Let's say you find the whole answer. It's like going out and having a hot fudge sundae. Wow. Look what I accomplished. Look what I did. Might be something minor. Doesn't matter. We got to feel like we're accomplishing. Because if we don't feel like we're accomplishing, we're just wasting time. We want to accomplish. We want to acquire. We want to acquire Torah. It takes effort. It takes sweat. It takes using the brain. Not going to be handed to you on a platter. But when a person sees something, they understand. They see the background, where it came from, and all that. Huge. So that we have to give over to others if we have the ability. Especially if that's our job. Still have to do it. Under any circumstance. Think that's easy? No, it's not. Not easy. But to give over to kids, that's your obligation. Person's teacher, that's their obligation. You go through the motions, the kids will see it. Person has a Rebbe like that, it's given everything, his heart, his soul, that kid's going to feel like $1 million. And that's really what the name of the game is here. So I remind everyone, I have class Duties of the Heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, Gate of Self Accounting. Sunday, a packed day, we have Book of Leviticus chapter 16, death of the sons of Aaron Cohen, Nadav and Avihu. And that's at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Israel Time. Then there's Tanakh Talk, 12:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Israel Time. No Hide Nations, doing No Hide classes. 2:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Israel Time on Sunday. Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time, Q&A. There's Pirkei Avos every Saturday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Israel Time. My conversion classes, anyone interested in any of them, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman. And you can find me at Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.